And I'm going to hit go live. We're a little bit early, but that way we can see if we have any problems.
Yeah.
My wife is
A little bit early,
listening.
but
We'll see if we have any issues. Can you hear us yet?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
No, I was asking my wife.
Mm.
She always. There we go. She's my IT person.
See.
Quality assurance. Hey, Jeremy, say a couple things just so we can see if there's any echo.
Okay. How am I sounding now?
All right. I'm thinking this can be good.
Yeah.
Good to go.
I mean, I can hear you just fine. So.
We're good to go. All right. What'd you have for supper?
I had leftover chicken and dumplings.
Oh, nice. My daughter made spaghetti. It was very good. I ate
How old is
way
she?
too much of it. She is 14. Is that right?
14.
I think she's 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My daughter's not cooking yet. She's not tall enough. She's only 10.
Oh yeah, can't reach the top of the stove, huh?
No, and she's short like her mom. So.
All right, we'll give it a few minutes here and let some people filter in. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. I got Jeremy Brandis. Is it Brandis or Brands?
Brandis.
Brandis. That's what I always thought. I just never asked
Everybody
you.
gets it wrong.
I never asked you, so I wasn't sure. Yeah, we'll let a few more people come in here, and then we'll just get started. If you can see behind me, that's my new perception.
Yeah, I don't have a green screen like that.
Yes, you do. It's on Skype. You just got
Do
to
I?
do it on Skype. Yeah, you can change your background.
If I mess with it, I'll probably screw something up.
Yeah, you got your Master Angler Awards on the wall back there. I don't have that.
Mm-hmm. I stopped submitting them after a while. But
I've only submitted 3, so I've got 3 going. I've got. I'm gonna catch a couple more this year, though. Guarantee it. Well, not guarantee it, but I'm pretty certain. I know where I can find a couple big ones.
yeah.
All right, looks like we've got like 13 or 14 folks on here. We'll get started. I'm sure you guys know me. I'm Chris. If you don't know me, this is my YouTube channel, Midwest Bass Hunter. I do a lot of kayak fishing, but and just bass fishing in general. Do a lot from the bank, and whenever I can find somebody with a boat I can hop in with, I'm definitely doing that. But tonight I've got on Jeremy Brandis, and he is the director and one of the founders of a new kayak league here in Iowa called the Iowa Kayak League, and it's a pretty neat deal for folks to be able to do some competitive bass fishing from a kayak, obviously, in their home waters and not have to travel too far to compete, which to me is a big deal. I love to compete. Something I just started this year, actually, thanks to Jeremy, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future here, or in the next little bit. But basically, we'll talk about the Iowa Kayak League, and then we're going to go into all the other opportunities that kayak anglers have in Iowa this year. It's probably the biggest year ever for kayak tournaments in Iowa, that at least that I can remember. And it's just growing, and there's a lot of different organizations that are doing some really cool stuff here within the state. So we'll just get started. Jeremy, I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself. How you maybe got started into bass fishing.
Sure. My name is Jeremy Brandis. I live in southwest Iowa, and I started bass fishing when I was probably 8 or 9 years old. just like every other kid. My stepdad taught me how to fish, and he taught me how to hunt. And I've always gravitated towards fishing over hunting. I definitely enjoyed a lot more. And I've been fishing casually ever since. Never really took it seriously. Bank fishing mostly. And it wasn't until about 4 years ago when I just decided I wanted to get off the bank and onto the water, but I didn't want a boat. I didn't want a trailer. I didn't want to have to deal with the hassles of a boat. And that's when I started looking into kayak fishing. My first kayak was, I'm not going to lie, it was a cheap Future Beach, a $300 box brand kayak. And I didn't know anything about the kayak tournaments at the time. I just bought it so that I could simply get out on the water. And it wasn't until I was searching on the internet for like modifications, kayak bass fishing modifications, just to make it a little easier on myself, is when I stumbled across these tournaments that are held nationwide and within the state. And I met up with a few people that have already been doing those events and became good friends with them over time. And one thing led to another, and 3 kayaks later and a lot of money later, and I take it a little bit more seriously.
Oh, that's really cool. And actually, that's kind of how I met Jeremy. I'm doing the YouTube thing and putting some stuff out there on YouTube, and I got a kayak. Just like Jeremy, I bought a $250 Pelican. My wife and I, she likes to fish, and we got a couple of these one year for our anniversary gift to ourselves, and we started fishing out of them, and it was just like, this is amazing. Like, I'm 35 years old. I've been fishing, same as Jeremy, been fishing since I was 8 or 9 years old, and never had a boat, always wanted one. But this kayak, I mean, it's just like, it's freedom, really, when it comes to bass fishing. And so, yeah, we started with the little cheapies, totally drank the Kool-Aid right off the bat, jumped into some bigger ones, got a couple of native Titans, fished out of those for a while. I did end up getting another smaller one, well, not smaller, but better for paddling, because that big native just doesn't always work when you can't use your pedals. It's just a lot of work. And then I was posting some stuff on YouTube, and Jeremy, reaches out to me and says, "Hey, man, have you ever heard of the Iowa Kayak Anglers? It's an organization in Iowa. They're doing live tournaments. You should check it out." Unfortunately, I still have not been able to fish an Iowa Kayak Anglers tournament. It just seems like they're always on the weekends that I have drill, so I just have not been able to make it work. But hopefully I'll be able to sneak into a few of them this year. So you mentioned that you started with that Future Beach, and man, if it floats, it works. I mean, in my opinion. Yeah. But how long have you been doing that? When did you buy your first kayak? And kind of maybe take us through what you started with that Future Beach and where you're at now, and what you've used.
Mm-hmm. That Future Beach, I think I bought it in 2017, if I remember correctly. And I bought it in the spring, and I used it pretty much all summer. I did qualify for the KBF National Championship out of that little Future Beach.
That's awesome.
It was uncomfortable, and it didn't track very well. It was hard to paddle, but I still managed to qualify. But I wasn't going to go to the NC with that little Future Beach. So I upgraded a little bit the fall of the same year, fall of 2017. I bought a Vibe Sea Ghost, and that was like $800 or $900, but it was a lot better kayak for me. And I used that one for 2 years, and I still kind of wish I had it. It was a good kayak to me. This year, I decided I wanted a pedal drive, and I think in March or April, I upgraded again and bought the Hobie Outback.
How big is that Hobie Outback?
It's 12 and a half.
12 and a half. And is that where you have to start registering them at 12 and a half? Or over 12?
Over 14 is when you have to register them, if I remember correctly, unless you put a motor on it. And I do have a motor that I use from time to time, so it is registered.
Oh, okay. Sure. All right, cool. I know I've been able to fish with Jeremy 2 times. one time he was in his Vibe. That's the first time we were able to meet up. And then the next time he was in his Hobie. And I've got that big native. I mean, it's not a huge. It's a 10.5. So it's only 10.5 feet, but it's a pedal drive. And I was out there with Jeremy, and he had that little Hobie. And he was just, he could go easily twice as fast as I could. He was.
Oh, I love the Outback. It's so fast and maneuverable.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the deck space like a pro angler does, but it's also like $1,000 less.
Yeah.
But it's a good size for me. I'm tall, but I'm not really a big guy, so I can handle it pretty easily. I could stand and fish out of it. I love the pedal drive system and how fast and nimble it is. I'm really happy with the Outback.
Yeah, I was impressed with how quick it was. I mean, even just like going from sitting there to getting moving, it really takes off in a hurry. And one of the things that I had talked to you about was, how that Mirage drive acts in the weeds, compared to the pedal drive on my my native, which is just like a trolling motor. I mean, it just spins a prop around and kind of wraps up those weeds. And it seems like that Hobie Mirage drive does a little better job at getting through those weeds. Have you experienced that?
Yeah. I've never taken a prop-driven kayak myself, but that was one of the determining factors. I was looking at the Titan 10.5 or that new native Slayer Max. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Like those three boats were the top three for me to choose from. Ultimately, I went with the Hobie just because the lakes that I fish have a lot of grass, and I figured a fin drive would be a little more weedless, I should say, than a prop-driven pedal kayak.
Yeah, it doesn't really wrap it up. It doesn't really. I don't even know how to say it, but that pedal drive or the propeller, it definitely just wraps up them weeds.
And I can go through sparse grass like it's not even there. But
right. Yeah, you don't even know it. So we've only got one comment so far on the message board, but if you guys want to chime in with any questions, we're going to jump into the Iowa Kayak League here and talk about the different opportunities that we have here in Iowa. And I want to start with the Iowa Kayak League. Like I said, Jeremy had a part in founding it. He kind of he runs it. I mean, you guess you call yourself the director of the league or one of them. And first of all, in order to find the Iowa Kayak League, just go onto Facebook and search in the groups for Iowa Kayak League, and it'll pop right up. And it's pretty cool. So I'm gonna let Jeremy kind of tell us how it's gonna work. I guess real quick. Last year, and I don't know if it was a legislation deal or if it's just a rule that the DNR changed, they started to allow virtual tournaments in Iowa. So you could have a virtual over-the-internet tournament. There's some rules to where you can't have so many anglers on the same body of water, but you can have these tournaments, and you don't have to have like a permit and all these different things that you need to have in order to run a bass fishing tournament. And that's kind of how this got started, this Iowa Kayak League, because before last year, we really wouldn't have been able to do this. Isn't that right, Jeremy?
Yeah, it was actually kind of a coincidence of timing. Full disclosure, the league wasn't necessarily my idea. I have a group of friends that I talk with daily, and this was about the time frame when the corona started canceling a lot of our tournaments. And for a while there, we thought we weren't going to have any events in 2020. So we were trying to think of something that we could do, just semi-casual, that's still competitive, where people can get out and fish. And about the same time as when Iowa legislation amended their current laws to allow for the virtual online tournaments. It's not that they were previously illegal, it's just that Iowa didn't really have a definition for them. It's like they were behind the times. But they did amend the law. It was passed, and you could allow for virtual online tournaments. You do have to have a permit, but there is no fee involved with the permit. And that became effective, I want to say, sometime in May or June.
Yeah, I seem to remember
year.
I saw Tommy post about it. I thought it was in June or
Hmm.
late May or early June. So
Yeah, still have to have a permit, but there's no fee to apply for those tournaments. And we started it simply as an affordable way for people to get out in the water and still compete. We made the entry fee $10 with an optional big bass fee of $10. And honestly, I was surprised with the amount of positive response from it. I think we had 44 different unique individual anglers compete last
yeah,
year. And the big bass pot, that was optional, but everybody joined it. So that was at $440. And then we had a lot of donations too. So that big bass pot actually came up to over $1,100 for the season for one fish.
yeah, that's crazy.
And we had people donate product. I know one guy donated a custom rod that we gave away in a drawing. Um, Anytime you competed, your name was in the drawing. Just even if you only competed once, you put your name in the drawing. If you competed all 12 weeks, it was in there 12 times. And the guy that won it only competed 1 week, which was
That
cool
is
to see
cool,
because
yeah.
it shows that, even if you just compete once, you still have a chance of winning that custom rod.
Right.
And we're going to make some changes this year. I think we did 12 weeks last year. It's 6 weeks of Thursday nights and 6 weeks of Sunday mornings. And I think by the end of those 12 weeks, people were getting a little burnout. So we're going to kind of stagger it a bit this year, try to do 3 different days of the weeks. And we're going to have like 4 weeks in between each series, I guess I would call it, just to kind of give people a break, not to burn anybody out. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be casual, and try to limit the entry fee, limit the big bass. So it's not necessarily about the money. It's just getting out and fish and seeing how you stack up against other Iowa anglers.
Right. I know that when this all started last year, I was over the moon because, with my job and with my obligations with the military, I struggled to get to these live tournaments. And then, I might have to drive across the state, and they're costly. I mean, they're not crazy expensive. I mean, we'll talk about that when we get into these other leagues. They're actually quite reasonable. But when you're talking that you can go from your house to the pond that you fish, or the lake that you fish, or the river that you fish, normally, on a regular basis, and you're paying $10 for an entry fee, and that big bass, that was a one-time fee last year. That was just huge. I mean, it was so much fun, and I finished. I think I was able to fish 5 of them, and I never finished in the money. I finished third like 3 times, but I was always just right there, and I never could cross that mark. In fact, the dang guy that I was bringing out there with me, he beat me twice and ended up in the money. But man, it was so much fun, and I mixed it up. I went to a couple different lakes, and I would take off from work, after work, and run up to this pond up the highway, and just, I mean, it was just like being in a live tournament. I was sitting there just counting down the time to lines in. It was just a lot of fun. So tell us a little bit about that schedule. What does that look like? I know you have some of it posted on the page, and it looks like you have it, like you said, you kind of have it split up into 3 sections. What does that look like?
So this year, like I said, we want to do 3 different days of the week, simply because everybody has varying work schedules. Everybody has family commitments, and I want to give the most amount of people as we can a chance to participate at least once. And right now we're looking at a May league on Thursday nights, a July league on Saturday nights, and then a September league on Sunday mornings. I think between those 3 days and the 4 weeks in between, that ought to give most people a chance to participate. I'm still going to keep the entry fee right around $10. I haven't quite decided on that one yet, but it's still going to be relatively affordable for everybody, and you can pick and choose which month you participate, or you can do all three depending on your schedule. Uh, like like you said, the primary focus is to be casual, affordable, and just fun, just an excuse to get out in the water, maybe see how you stack up against other anglers.
So, are these tournaments going to be run on Tourney X?
We're still going to use Facebook. If I use Tourney X, which I love Tourney X,
Right.
I'd like to use Tourney X. It's more presentable format. But if I use Tourney X, I would have to increase the entry fee because Tourney X takes $5 per angler, and that would make it like 50% more expensive for everybody.
Yeah.
Not all of that would go back towards the winner.
I like that. I mean,
just,
like you said, I mean, I love Tourney X, and I think it's really cool. It keeps your stats and stuff in there. I've been able to fish 3 tournaments where I was using Tourney X, and I kind of love that part. That I can go back and look at some of that stuff.
yeah, and you can show the leaderboard at the end of the tournament and show how everybody did.
Right.
Last year, we only really scored the top 3 people because that's what paid out was the top 2.
Right.
Everybody wants to know how close third place was to second.
And that leads to my next question, and I'm going to ask this question. Then I'm going to jump over to the leaderboard. We got a few comments on there, and we'll address those. But I know I asked you this last year, and I was interested in finding out if I was really interested in Angler of the Year. Now, like a points contest. Now I know that especially without using Tourney X, that increases the workload there for whoever's judging those fish. But is that something that you guys are going to try to do this year?
I don't think I'll do an Angler of the Year. I might do like an Angler of the Month and base it mostly on like your average total length for that month. A guy that might be able to fish Thursday nights, maybe that person can't fish Sunday mornings.
Right.
So an Angler of the Year would be tough if they're not even able to get out in the water in the first place. But there probably won't be any cash reward for Angler of the Month. I might do a write-up on the Facebook group for everybody to see and get to know that person. Just give them some recognition. Like notoriety and money shouldn't be, as far as the Iowa League's concerned, shouldn't be your primary focus. It's just about getting out in the water and having fun.
Right.
And I'll give that person some attention, give them the props that they deserve for maybe the highest average length per week. But there's not going to be an AOY or anything like that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, and that's cool. I mean, maybe we can have him on it and talk to him on here. That'd be cool.
There you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know that with this type of format, like you said, it doesn't really lend itself to that. And it is, yeah, like you said, you're breaking that up into that 3-month kind of section spread out over, basically 5 months. Yeah, that might be a little challenging. And especially, without using Tourney X. Tourney X would make that easier, but I like where you're going because for me, for example, I know my buddy Grant went out, and I don't know if he won second place in the first. I think he was second place in the first one. And he had enough money in his PayPal account after that to pay his entries every other time he entered. Which, if you add that Tourney X fee on there, that definitely bumps that up quite a bit. Like you said, 50% more. Unfortunately, it does cost money to use that Tourney X, but it's worth it. I mean, it's an awesome product, and it certainly shouldn't be free. But yeah, that's man, I'm so excited to get in on that. And the cool part is, so there's really no restrictions on the water.
Just public. As long as it's public and in Iowa.
Right, just got to be public and within the borders. So let's jump over here real quick. Joseph Billings, he says we're loud and clear, and the reason he's telling us that is because we've had I've had some real bad technical difficulties on some prior live streams, but we got it. I think we got it figured out. Scuffed Thumbs is here. He said just figured out how to chat. So, and then he had another one down here. He said it's a great looking schedule. Looking forward to it. Ryan B. He wants to know who won Big Bass last year.
Big Bass last year went to Jordan Westerman.
Jordan,
which is no surprise.
He catches big ones, lots of big ones.
Yeah, he does. I think it was either 22 or 22 and a quarter.
Yeah, that's a giant. I have never caught a 22. My biggest fish, it came this year, and it was actually like an hour after one of the Sunday morning events, so I didn't get to use it in the event, or I would have won. But anyways, I caught a 21 and a quarter. So I've never even seen a 22 in person. Tim Gurley says PR for the win. Do we want to admit what PR is? Nope. All right, we won't say that. That's a body of water.
That's my home lake.
Yeah. Mini biker Tony, he's on here. He says hi. So okay, let's talk a little bit about what other opportunities that anglers, kayak bass fishing anglers have for tournament trails in Iowa. Now, we talked about the Iowa Kayak League, and that is unique. That is different than what we're about to talk about. So the stuff that we're about to jump into here is going to be live events. These are events where you go to a specific body of water and you have a certain time on that body of water. You have practice time, and you have, it's a lot more structured, I guess, and it also, you can't just go fish your honey hole. If the lake is Lake Icaria, which I know is one of Jeremy's favorites, if it's Lake Icaria, then that's where everyone's fishing. So let's just jump into those. And I guess I don't really care which route we go, Jeremy. I know there's two leagues that I know of that are Iowa-based and Iowa only. The Iowa Kayak Anglers, and then there's a new league this year called IAC. So I don't know if you want to. We can kind of dive into those, and I've got the schedules here.
Good, because I don't have the schedules
up. Let me pull them up on my phone. But let's start with the Iowa Kayak Anglers. So the Iowa Kayak Anglers, they're, to my knowledge, they're the oldest kind of kayak club in the state.
Yeah, they were around before I started kayak fishing, and I don't know how many years prior, but for a while that was the only kayak club in Iowa.
Right, yeah, and I don't know how long they've been around. Any of you guys on the message board that are members or have competed with the Iowa Kayak Club or the Iowa Kayak Anglers, go ahead and comment if you know how long they've been around. But at least 5-6 years, I think. But I don't know for sure. Maybe longer.
I know that Scuffed Thumbs in the comments. That's I think that's Jason Essery, and he's actually one of the directors of IAC, the new series this year.
Oh yeah.
He's asking
Yep.
where my magnet is. I got a magnet for IAC's schedule.
Yeah. So
2015 is when I
he's saying 2015. So they've been going strong for 5 years now. This will be the 6th season. So this year they have a pretty awesome schedule. There's 6 events and a championship event. So 7 events if you qualify for the championships. And Scuffed Thumb says that is Jason.
Yep.
So,
and I know 3 of those are on the river too.
Yeah.
Which if you like the Mississippi.
Right. And that's something, we'll have to touch base on that a little bit deeper here, because I know that Jeremy loves the Mississippi River. It's quickly becoming his favorite place to go.
8, 9, and 10. I wish I lived closer.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm literally all the way across the state from there. And I mean, so are you, really.
Yeah, it's
you're straight south of me.
Yeah.
So this year, like I said, 6 events, 7 if you count the championship. And they're all over the state. We got 3 Mile Lake, which is kind of, I don't know, south, maybe towards the central portion of the state of Iowa. I've never fished 3 Mile. Have you fished 3 Mile, Jeremy?
I've never fished it. I've been real close, but never fished
I've
it.
been wanting to try that place for a while, and actually, in that, if I'm remembering right, in that area, there's several lakes, three or
Oh
four
yeah.
impoundments that have been known to produce some big fish, like Green Valley, 12 Mile, 3 Mile, and I think there's another one in there, but I don't remember. It's what that one's called, but
Yeah, and I'm not gonna tell you either.
um,
Yeah, Highway 4 is the spot to be.
what's that?
Said Highway
Yeah,
34 all the way across the southern part of the state. That's the spot to
there is
be.
a lot of good, just really good impoundments on there, and I know they're loaded with bass, and there's a lot of big bass down there too. And I don't know, like the closest I've probably ever been down there is Lake Anita, which is pretty close to where you're at, and
Mhm.
that's a pretty good fishing lake. And it goes through cycles, but I haven't caught anything super big out of there for a couple years, but I've caught some big fish out of there. Um,
Yeah, I think my first 20 was out of Anita.
I caught a one time I was out there screwed around, and it was dark, and I was about ready to call it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll just cast on in this little bit of weed line here right before I pull my kayak out, and I caught a 4 pound 9 ouncer or something on a little wacky rig yum dinger. Hard to beat that. So
Yeah.
in April 17th, 3 Mile Lake. May 15th is Big Spirit. Now, I've heard that they've changed that to all of the Iowa Great Lakes.
Yeah, it's my understanding that they opened it up to all 5 of the Iowa Great Lakes, and that one's actually going to be in conjunction with the All American at the same time. So if you're fishing one or the other, you have a chance to double dip and do both tournaments at the same time.
Yeah, and that could be a huge payday. I mean, chances are if you win one, you're probably going to win them both.
Yeah.
That's actually like my home lake. I'm maybe a half an hour, 25 minutes from the southern end of the Iowa Great Lakes, and I do fish up there some. However, it's such a crazy lake in the summertime that I shy away from it because there's just boats everywhere, and honestly, a lot of them are pretty crazy. But
Yeah.
this tournament is early enough. This is in May, early May.
Yeah, May's a good time.
So essentially, between Memorial Day and Labor Day, it's just flat out nuts. Okay, it's crazy. Not saying you can't go there and fish. You definitely can. And I've fished during those times. I just try and get off the lake by 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. Get out there early, and then get off the lake before too many folks get out there. So that's cool. I'm super stoked to have that right nearby, and I think I have to double check because I know that the Army's moved some things around on me. The Guard has, and I just need to make sure that I think that I can make that tournament. So I'm definitely gonna try and hop in both of those, like Jeremy said, and we'll talk about the All American later, a little bit later in the show here. But yeah, you can go out there and fish 2 tournaments on the same day. You can use the same fish for both tournaments and have the potential to really, you could score a big payday. But more than that is these tournaments don't cost that much, and you can go out and have a lot of fun just competing. Then in June 26th and 27th, 2-day tournament, Mississippi Rivers pools 13 and 14. I'm not familiar with where 13 and 14 are. That's pretty far south, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on the southeast corner. I've never been there myself. I was supposed to have gone last year, but I ended up getting sick and couldn't make it. That was their first or second tournament of the year last year. Yeah, it was their second because the first one was canceled because of the corona.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been there myself, but I've heard good things about it.
I mean, anything on that river from here to Minneapolis is pretty good from what I've heard. I have heard some people say that further south it gets really tough to catch bass, but for sure up here, I mean, it's It's pretty awesome over there. And then they're going right back there in July. July 17th, they're going to be on pools 9 and 10. And you might think, oh, we're going to the river and then we're going to the river. But it's two distinctly different sections of the river. I'm sure that you can definitely use some tactics in both locations, but it's not like the same sections of the river. And the other thing about it is, you go from June and into July, and the bite is definitely going to change. There's going to be a lot more top water, a lot more grass in play, a lot of different stuff going on. And I don't know, 70, 80 miles apart or further, maybe a couple 100 miles apart from pools 9 and 10.
Yeah.
We fished last year in the BASS event. Did you fish on what pool did you fish on? I fished on 9.
I was on pool 8.
Pool 8. I should have went up there.
I believe. Yeah. Yeah, because that was 7, 8, and 9, and I did pool 8.
Yeah. I stayed in the Iowa portion, so I didn't have to buy another license. But I mean, there's plenty of fish down there. I just didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I just could not find them.
As far as one pool from the other, from what I've learned from fishing the river, I don't know, 5 or 6 times, is all 3 pools hold winning fish. It's just it could be so finicky sometimes. You could be on them one day, and they'll vanish overnight. You won't find them the next day. It really depends on the river level and the current and the clarity of the water. The river's hard to figure out, but I don't know, the more I visit it, the better I do, and the more I'm starting to like it.
Right. So when we went, we fished a BASS tournament last year. BASS. I always leave that last S off of there, which is that's a big time tournament, and it was cool to have that come to our backyard. Now they said the tournament was out of La Crosse, Wisconsin, but I mean the pool 9 it borders Iowa, so it was an Iowa event essentially. So it was really cool to have it there, and it was a blast. And I went out there and fished 2 days of practice before the tournament, and that was my first and only live tournament I've fished so far. But it was a blast, going out there and practicing a couple days, and you don't necessarily need to do that. You can just go out in there and wing it. And like Jeremy, for example, he's been out there so many times, he could probably put together a pattern without too much practice. And man, it was fun. And I figured something out very late in the day on tournament day and almost was able to fill my limit. I ended up with 4 fish. I think 54 inches, nothing big. I think my biggest was 14 inches, so I had some little dinks for sure. But yeah, I was able to put something together, but it was just I ran out of time. So that can happen for sure.
Yeah, I had a bit of a rough go at the bass tournament as well. I didn't catch my 5th keeper until 2:58, 2 minutes before lines out. Luckily, they were all decent size, and I placed, I don't know, high 30s or low 40s. I don't remember exactly. I think it was low 40s.
Yeah, I finished 77th. Yeah.
There was
123 boats that fished, I believe. I think there's a few more that entered. A couple guys that Jeremy and I know weren't able to make it because we had this crazy storm in Iowa and just blew a bunch of trees down and wrecked a bunch of things, and people had more important things to take care of, had to bow out. But I was happy that I didn't finish last. But you know what, Grant, who is the guy that I fish with a lot on kayak, he still beat me by a half inch. Gosh, I was so upset about that.
You should take them
I know. What the heck? That day the last day that I fished the league last year, the Sunday morning. His truck was broke down, and I actually drove to his house and picked him up and took him to the lake, and then he beats me. So it's just terrible. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I got a buddy who I kind of introduced into kayak fishing. I think last year was his first year, and I had a trailer, and we'd ride together all these events, and we'd share strategy during practice, and then we kind of go our separate ways on tournament day. He beat me every time.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're on your own this year, buddy.
Yeah, what the heck? I mean, that's how it works. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think Grant had ever fished a tournament, but he definitely has a lot of fishing experience. But a couple of things from the leaderboard here, or not the leaderboard, the message board. Tim Gurley stopped in. He said 13 and 14 was a blast.
He won 13 and
Tim
14.
did? Wow.
Yep. He just lives a few blocks away from me.
That's awesome.
He won it.
That is awesome. Scuffed Thumb says TG for the win. I don't know what.
Tim Gurley.
Tim Gurley, right there. So I'm sure he does like pools 13 and 14. And then Eric Klein Walterink, he says hello from Sibley. And Sibley, that's my little secret pond that's where my little secret pond is, where I found some big fish last year. And it is public. It is not private. Then back to the schedule for the Iowa Kayak Anglers. In August 14th, they're going to Clear Lake, which is up north central Iowa. That's a good lake. It's got smallies and largemouth in it, and it has muskies in it. So be ready to catch a big one up there. You hook into a muskie. I've only fished Clear Lake once, and I got skunked. It was just last summer. September 18th and 19th. What's that?
Said I've driven by it once, never fished it.
Yeah, it's just like a big bathtub. I mean, it's not very deep in the middle, and it's just kind of a featureless bowl. I mean, it has a lot of grass and stuff in it, a lot of pencil reeds and things like that, and I'm sure there's some rocks and stuff, but I didn't really find much of that stuff. We were just out there messing around one afternoon. September 18th and 19th, Lake Rathbun, which is right south central Iowa.
South, a little east of Des Moines. It's the largest lake in Iowa. They've attempted to fish it the last 2 years.
Wasn't it flooded? It was too high last year, wasn't it?
It was canceled because of the corona last year.
Oh, that's right. But the year before was for the high water.
Year before, it was flooded.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was really flooded.
So third time's a charm on that one.
Yeah, we'll see. I have never fished Lake Rathbun. Have you ever fished it?
No.
It looks like a monster to me. Honestly, it's a little bit intimidating. It's a big body of water, and it is the biggest. It is the biggest lake in Iowa. It's an impoundment, so it's not the biggest natural lake. I think the biggest natural lake is Spirit Lake up here by me, but this one is. Yep. I think Rathbun is almost 3 times the size of Spirit Lake. It's a big lake. And it's like one of these southern reservoirs, right? It's got a bunch of creek arms and river channels, and it'd be a really cool place to definitely try it out. And then they're back to the Mississippi River Pool 19 for the championship in October. And Pool 19, that's got to be almost to Missouri.
Yeah, that's clear the way down on the southeast corner there. Never been there myself either.
Yeah, I have. Well, I've only been on Pool 9, but I definitely want to get back to the river. So, anything you want to talk about with the Iowa Kayak Anglers?
I don't think I'm going to be able to fish many of their events this year, besides the Okoboji or the Great Lakes event, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to be focusing primarily on the All-American, but you can search on Facebook and find their group.
That's right. Yep. They have a Facebook page and a Facebook group, I believe. So you can like their Facebook page, and you'll see all kinds of announcements coming out from them. And their group is just a good place to hang out and talk fishing, with other guys. Let's talk quickly about the IYAK. So this is a new group. Put this together this year. I don't know much about it. I do know that they have a pretty sweet looking schedule. I'll just run down through it quickly here. Let's see. They've got April 24th is Lake Darling. Where the heck is Lake Darling? I know I've heard of it, but I've never been there.
Yeah, I've never been there either. It's eastern Iowa somewhere, I think. Just a little north of Iowa City. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but
right.
It's definitely on the eastern side of the state.
Then they've got Brushy Creek on May 8th. That is one that I
Mhm.
really want to fish, but unfortunately I'll be tied up that weekend, so I can't get there. I know you fished Brushy once or twice, haven't you?
Yeah, I fished Brushy twice.
How'd you do there?
The first year I think I got 10th, and then last year I don't want to talk about it.
Did you blank?
No, I got one. I
Oh,
caught one
nice.
fish,
I
14 inches. I
I
think.
when I first got my native watercraft Titans, I went out and fished Brushy Creek once on a kayak. Now I fished it from, believe it or not, it's you if you look at it on the map, like if you look at it on satellite, you're gonna be like, how the heck do you bank fish this? But there is actually quite a few spots where you could bank fish, and I used to go to drill for guard in Fort Dodge, and so then every Saturday after we're done working, I'd jump in my car and scream down there. It was like 30-minute drive, and cast till dark. I've caught some good bass out of there, and a few years back, I know that the Iowa DNR was saying that they thought that there was a chance that that lake could produce a state record fish.
Possibly. I got a friend of mine that swears it's next to maybe Boji. It's probably the best fishery in Iowa,
Right.
and you can catch a 40-inch muskie out of
Yes.
there, or 20-inch bass.
I just think it's super hard to fish because it is very different for me than so many things that
I couldn't get over how steep the
yes,
drop
it's
offs were.
so
Like,
deep,
you'd be
and it's not just that it's deep; it's that it's deep right now. Like you were saying.
yeah, you'd be in a foot of water and you'll drift 3 feet over, and then you're in 30 feet of water.
Yeah,
It's incredibly steep, and it's all trees, flooded timber.
right.
It's not what I'm used to, but it's still a neat place to learn.
Yeah, it definitely, and I want to try and get down there a few times this year because, just like you said, I want to learn it because it's really not like anything that I have to fish nearby. There's just nothing like it around here. So, and I know some of them other lakes in southern Iowa, some of them other impoundments, they have trees and timber in the water and things like that, but they're not near as deep and aggressively deep, as steep as Brushy
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I can remember one of the first times I was fishing there, and I was standing on this fishing jetty, fishing from the bank, and this dude goes by in his boat, and he's maybe like 30 feet off the bank, and he had to kind of cut us off because there's trees everywhere, and I said, yeah, no problem, go through there, and then I said, how deep is it right there? And he's like, I think he said it was like 20 feet or 18 feet or something. I'm like, oh, really? Well, I'm doing this all wrong. I'm working a bait that's real close to the surface, and not that you won't catch them that way, but I probably need to get down there a little deeper. Do something a little different. Couple things here from the message board. Scuffed Thumbs, Jason, he said it's in Brighton, Iowa, 45 miles south of Iowa City. So we were kind of close.
I knew
You were
it was
kind of
around the
close,
city
yeah.
somewhere.
And then Bay Boy Bassin, he stopped by. He's a kayak fisherman. He just got a kayak this year, and he caught a 9-pounder on his little
I saw that video.
little kayak. So he's got some cool videos, guys. Go check him out, Bay Boy Bassin on YouTube. Scuff Thumbs, he said that Jordan caught a 22-incher at Brushy and 22.5-incher at Brushy in 2018. So yeah, we know there's some big ones in there, and that's Jordan Westerman. He's the guy that won the big bass last year in the little league deal, and he fishes a lot of big swim baits. He catches big baits, big fish. He knows how
Yep.
to catch them.
And he throws it with confidence too.
What's that?
I said he throws them with confidence too.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not there yet with the big swim baits.
I don't have the
Yeah,
patience.
he knows how to do it, and it's probably worth it. I like to get bites. I like to catch fish. I do obviously love to catch big fish, but it's tough for me to. That trade-off is tough for me. Not to the point where I'm out there throwing like a Senko every day. But definitely, I definitely like to fish baits that I'm going to catch some fish on. Let's see, Driftless Adventures. He said Lake Meyer in Kalmar is steep. It goes from 0 to 20 feet in a span of 5 feet from the shore. Yeah, I have never been out there either. And he says it's only a 40-acre lake. That must be like maybe an old pit or something, or an old rock quarry. A couple other things, Joe here. He says, when are we heading out together? Well, yeah, you know how to get a hold of me, Joe. We'll have to talk because I have not been able to go ice fishing yet, which I'm not a huge fan of ice fishing. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna try and get out together. Joe's a couple weeks ago he won a little giveaway I had on my channel, and he lives just nearby me. But all right, we got all those comments addressed here. Let's get back to this schedule for IYAK. So we talked about Brushy Creek, and that is a cool place. If you haven't been there, you definitely need to make your way out to Brushy Creek. It's a unique place. Then we got they have like a mid-season championship. That's in June, and that is on 3 Mile Lake. That's another lake that is in the Iowa Kayak Anglers in their schedule as well. So, if you can make that lake for both leagues, you can maybe have a little leg up, get a little bit more experience on it. Then July 10th, they're going to be on Mississippi River pools 8, 9, and 10. And that is, like Jeremy was saying earlier, that is running alongside the All-American Kayak Series. So if you jump into that event, you can jump into 2 if you want. You can fish 2 events, same 2 days. And that's pools 8, 9, and 10, which that's in kind of southern Minnesota down to, a good ways into Iowa that you can fish. I mean, that's probably, 100 miles of river?
Yeah, I think it's like 90 miles from north to south.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of water. There's a lot of water there. Then they're going to go and hit Lake Mcbride. That's the one that is by Iowa City. That is just off of what's that river? The Cedar River? Or is that?
I thought it was the Iowa River. I thought it was north of the Coralville Reservoir.
No, you're right. It is north of Coralville Reservoir. Yeah, and it runs into Coralville. And that's the Iowa River. Right, and the Cedar River runs into the Iowa River. Yeah, I know that lake is full of bass. I don't know if I've heard that it's fished really tough lately, though. I haven't, and I've never fished it. That's another lake that has muskies in it also.
Yeah, I've never fished it myself either.
Yeah, I think it's pretty tough. It looks like it's really clear. I looked at it. Actually, something that Jeremy told me about a year ago. I think it was a year ago. He said, I'm going to try and catch a bass in my kayak in every county in the state. So I actually went through and made a spreadsheet, and I started picking bodies of water in every county. And believe it or not, there's some counties out there that don't hardly have any water. But I did find some water in every county. And I did pick Lake Mcbride as one of the spots I wanted to try and hit. But it looks, if you look at it from the satellite image, it looks like it would be really clean water. It looks really dark, on the satellite image. Then they've got their championship at Lake Seguma. And this is another one Jeremy and I were talking about the other day. Neither of us have been there. And I didn't even know where it was. I think it's it's dang near to the Missouri border. And it's over pretty far east. Or at least it's east of Central. But I've heard good things about that lake too. Since we talked about it, I've heard some other guys talking about it, and I think that it could be that could be a really good tournament that time of year. So those are the 2 leagues that are in Iowa, and essentially all these leagues have pretty much the same rules. Do you know, Jeremy, are either of these leagues, do they allow you to use a trolling motor or any type of electric motor?
I know that IKA is allowing a motor, partially because of the size of the lakes that they chose, and also because of the dual event they have with the All-American on the Great Lakes.
Yeah, otherwise that would maybe knock a bunch of guys out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure about IAC, whether or not they're allowing motors yet. I guess I haven't
Hey,
asked them.
Scuff Thumbs, if you're still watching. Oh, he just said it. He said, "Yep, IAC allows them too." So
IAC allows motors.
that's excellent. And you said you have a motor, huh? What do you got? What are you packing there?
Sort of. I got a 24-pound thrust water snake that fits in my my drive
Oh,
slot.
nice.
Yeah, it's not on the outside or the back of the kayak. I can remove it whenever I
Oh,
want.
that's pretty slick.
Pretty tiny little thing. It only goes about 4 miles an hour, but it should run all
Yeah,
day.
and if you're if you're running a long ways, that would be really helpful. I've definitely been thinking about doing that. I met Jordan out at the river last year, and he had some little thing rigged up on the side of his, just a little trolling motor. He cut the shaft down, so it's like this long. And
Yeah.
I was thinking about maybe trying to rig something like that up this year because, like you said, and honestly, the guy that won that tournament on the river, he had a Torpedo, and he said if he didn't have that Torpedo, it would have been a heck of a haul to get to where he caught those fish. And also, he knew that other people knew where those fish were. And he said, I might not have beat him there, So,
Yeah.
I've always kind of liked the idea of, I'm on a kayak and I'm pushing myself around. I always kind of like that where I'm not using motor. But on the other hand, I want to compete. And if I can fish in these bigger events, you know, and be able to do it with a motor and actually, be able to accomplish something that to me opens a lot of doors. I mean, you can still go fish a lot of these tournaments and do it the old school way, but if you're going to go out and fish a pool of the Mississippi River, or there's some tournaments coming up on the other side of the state, on the Missouri River, and so those big bodies of water, man. I mean, definitely would be awesome to have a motor
On the river, especially, a motor would be nice. But I can honestly say, like 2019 and the year before, I never felt like I was at a disadvantage because I was paddling. I probably wasn't getting as many casts per hour as a pedal drive guy, and it could be the same thing said about motor versus pedal drive. But I don't really think motors are a necessity. Like you said, it just gets you from your launch to your spot a little bit faster and a lot easier.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's not catch fish for you.
I will tell you that when we finished the tournament on the Mississippi last year, the BASS event, I was 50. It took me 55 minutes to get back to where I launched that morning, but it was fun. It was cool. I had no issue with that. But yeah, if I'd have had a motor, and I was wore out, so if I'd have had a motor, it would have definitely been. It definitely would have been a little bit easier to get back. So, hey, I want to jump into some of these other tournament trails that are coming to Iowa and nearby Iowa. But real quick here, I'm going to jump on the board. LT Outdoors stopped by. Thanks for stopping by, LT. He actually makes some really cool jigs, LT jigs. So check him out on Instagram if you guys want. Jess McLean is on here. He's one of the other guys that started that IEX series, isn't that right?
Yep, him and Jason.
So that's awesome. Scuff Thumbs and Jess McLean both on here. Let's see. Did you get that from Big Bass Tony Jeremy?
Yeah, I don't understand that one.
Is he talking about your motor? Did you get it from Big Bass Tony?
No.
I have no idea. LT, I know he fishes out of I can't remember what. I think you fish out of an old town, don't you, LT? But he's kayak fishing down in Texas, and he says he does love his pedal drive, and because he's an old man, and it helps, gives him some exercise. Okay, so we got a question here from Bay Boy Bassin. He says, what's the advantages to tournament kayaking? Is it a quick way to make some money?
It's a quick way to lose some money.
It's a quick way to spend some money. That's for dang sure.
Yeah. I like tournament fishing because You can go out by yourself on your local honey hole and catch 20 or 30 fish and think you're something special, but you don't really know how good you are until you put yourself up against other anglers on the same body of water. And it forces you to get better, to pay attention to detail and hone those skills. Uh, it's kind of a reality check, in my opinion, and there's a bit of a discipline to it. But if you commit yourself and you gradually see, the fruits of your labor from all the time you spent on the water, it forces you to self-improve. Is probably what I like most about kayak fishing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I've only had the opportunity to jump in, like I said, one live tournament. I've done several online tournaments, which were a lot of fun. But like you said, I was fishing my own water. I already was confident, right? When we went out to that river tournament, I thought, well, I can catch 5 bass any body of water any day, and I knew I wasn't probably going to win. And I wasn't going to finish real high or anything, but I thought I can go fill a limit. And from what Jeremy told me, if you can fill a limit, I mean, you have a good chance of being in the top 10, So I'm like,
if you're in the top 50%.
Right. Because a lot of folks don't get a limit, right? So I thought, well, shoot, I can go get a limit on the Mississippi River, If there's bass around, I can catch them. Well, I fished there for 3 days, right? I fished 2 days of practice. I fished 1 day in the tournament, and I caught 4 keepers every day. I never caught 5. I was not able to get a limit on any day that I fished out there. And man, it was. I will say that it definitely was. I don't know. Like, I knew that I wasn't going to go out there and beat Jeremy, right? I mean, I could, but I didn't expect that. But I really thought I could put 5 in the boat, and I struggled. So, I mean, now what I will take away from that river tournament is I learned so much, right? And I struggled bad on tournament day, but at the last 30 minutes, I figured something out. I had 1 fish with half an hour to go. And the last 30 minutes, I figured something out, and I was able to catch 3 more bass. If I had another 10 minutes, I guarantee I would have caught a 5th one. But, so that was the biggest deal for me. The learning experience. Now, I spent a bunch of money to go. I mean, it gave it all away. There's no advantage to it in that way. I mean, once in a while you might win, and you're going to, you get a little bit of money for that. And sometimes you can win kayaks and cool prizes and stuff like that. But like Jeremy said, it's really about the experience. It's about being able to learn, and it's about, competing, because fishing is fun. I love fishing. Fishing against other people in competition is just that much more exciting. I mean, it's just so exciting. I don't really know how to explain it. Couple more comments here. Let's see. LT says, yeah, he does fish out of an Old Town topwater. I've never been in Old Town, but I know they make good kayaks. Ryan B said, pretty sure it's the deepest average depth lake in Iowa. I think he's talking about Brushy Creek, and I think that is true as well. And let's see, he says, it's eerie there, having a tree push the front of your boat out of the water in 30 feet is freaky.
I got stuck twice.
I've actually high-centered my kayak there. And I couldn't get off of this log I was on.
My buddy Mason, who I told him what to do and he beat me. He'd come pull me off a tree as we were pedaling to our spots. And then halfway through the day, I had to flag somebody else down to come pull me off a tree because I'm stuck 30 feet in the air in the water on a tree.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's definitely a cool place. That Brushy Creek is definitely a cool place. All right, so let's jump into some of these other kayak tournaments. And some of these, man, these are big-name tournaments that are going to be right here in our backyard. Now, let's start with the Central States Kayak Series. They're not super huge. I think this is their first year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But they have some tournaments here in Iowa. I think it's a Nebraska-based organization, but I'm not sure. Do you know?
Yeah, I think the guys that run it, there's 2 or 3 of them. I don't know all their names. James Leggett is one of them. They're mostly Eastern Iowa, and that's where a lot of the tournaments are in eastern Nebraska.
Right.
And there are some western Iowa tournaments as well. I don't know if they have any in any other states. I haven't looked at their schedule real closely
Yeah, so
yet.
I've got it right here, and it is. It looks like there's 2 tournaments in Nebraska, right across the border there, Lake Wanahoo, which is in Wahoo, Nebraska. That's not too far across the border. And then the Lincoln Roadrunner, which I think is a tournament that you can fish several different lakes. Then they have 2 of them in the beginning of the season here in Iowa, Carter Lake in Iowa, and that's just across. That's just across the border into Iowa. In fact, it's kind of like it's in Nebraska, but it's in Iowa. Isn't that right? Have you ever been to Carter?
Yeah. Yeah, I fished Carter once.
It's east. It's
I don't know.
It's west of the river.
Yeah, the river
Right.
used to run on the west side of it.
So the river changed course,
moved.
which then left the border where the river used to be, and so this lake is in Iowa, but it's across the river into Nebraska. So, but I know that's a good lake, but it's highly pressured. It gets fished.
It's
to
a
death.
Surprisingly good.
But there's
lake,
big fish in there.
Yeah,
My buddy Steve Basinger, he fishes that lake often, and he's caught some 5+s out of there for sure. Then there's 3 Mile Lake, which we already talked about. So here's another tournament on 3 Mile Lake. So if you're near 3 Mile, that's a place that you can capitalize on that.
They actually had to change that one to 12 Mile. I don't think they got the permitting.
Oh shoot, I don't have the updated schedule then.
Yeah, they just announced that a few days ago. They had to change it to
Now
12
Mile is very close to 3 Mile.
Yeah, it's just like 9 miles
Right.
away.
12 minus 3 equals 9. And then their last tournament, their championship. So they've got 5 events, and they're all real close. I mean, if you're in the south, if you're in southwest Iowa, or even just south central Iowa, I mean, this is a tournament trail. You could easily run the whole tournament trail if you're willing to buy a Nebraska license and drive over into Nebraska. But their championship is on Green Valley Lake in Creston, Iowa, and that's on September 18th. And Green Valley is a spectacular lake. It's
the best lake in southwest Iowa by far.
I've heard so many good things about that.
That was a good choice on their part.
I definitely want to get there. I've never been there, but I definitely want to try and get there. Hopefully, I can get there this year. Whether I'm fun fishing or whether I'm able to jump into one of these tournaments, I definitely want to do that. So the next one I want to talk about is the All-American Kayak Series. And I know that you're going to fish one of these events this year. But this tournament series is it's pretty big. I mean, it spans all the way from Arkansas all the way up to South Dakota, Wisconsin. I mean, they're all over the place. If you were to fish this whole tournament trail, and I think Jeremy said that he's gonna focus on this trail, you can do a little bit of driving.
Yeah, a little bit. I think the farthest one I have is maybe 10-11 hour drive. But I'm gonna try to fish at least 4, maybe 5 of their events. That's the one I'm most excited for this year.
So what is the tournament that you're most excited for out of the
All-American, the most it would be a toss up between either the Okoboji or the Mississippi, just because I love the Mississippi. Although I have more confidence on Okoboji, I think one of those two. It's going to be a toss up.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, here you are. You're going to go try and fish a bunch of these tournaments. And I don't know if you're going to hit the Ozarks or Lake Ouachita, Lake Wilson, the Madison Chain in Wisconsin.
Yep.
All these big name, nationwide known lakes, and the ones that really are your favorites are right here in Iowa. So that's pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to hit Ouachita, Wilson, Okoboji, the river, and possibly, I think, 10 Killer in Oklahoma, and the one up in Lewis and Clark in South Dakota.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
I don't think I can make Lake of the Ozarks, but
that'll be interesting, that Lewis and Clark tournament. I've fished that lake once. Well, I probably fished it when I was a little tiny child, but I fished it once recently as an adult, and that's a big body of water. I mean, that's 30,000 acre lake, and I don't know how far up the river they're going to let you go, but it's a big chunk of water, and then it's a river too, so it's going to have some current, and it's going to have some junk in it probably. Who knows? It might be real low. I mean, we haven't had much water, so yeah.
We need a wet spring.
Yeah, we do need a wet spring. Because a lot of my ponds, like, there's dry land I've never seen, which is kind of scary.
I'm standing on dry ground where I used to be launching my kayak from.
Yeah, it's kind of scary because, especially up here, we get a lot of ice, although it's been really mild this year, so hopefully we won't. But, some of these ponds, I worry about them freezing out maybe. A couple other things here. Bayboy Bassin has another question. He says, how many tournament anglers can you have in a single tournament?
That depends on the size of the water. I think they generally try to limit to no more than one angler per 20 acres.
And is that a regulation, or is that just something that the organizations try and do to make it to remain to maintain competitiveness on that water?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I don't know if the Iowa DNR has a regulation on it or not, but nobody wants to fish, 50 people on a 100-acre lake. Right. It simply wouldn't work. So I think basic rule of thumb is minimum of 10 acres per person. I think 20 is more like their goal.
And when you get to these tournaments, these live tournaments, a lot of them are on bigger bodies of water. It's not like we're going to 150 acre lakes here. These are, several hundred, if not into the 1,000 acre lakes, and some of them way bigger than that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'm excited about the All-American. I want to fish. I definitely plan to fish the Okoboji one in conjunction with the Iowa Kayak Anglers Tournament. And I have been thinking about a couple of other ones on that schedule. I just got to see, I got some things going on this spring, and I'm just not sure which ones I can make. So I know my buddy Grant, he's from Arkansas originally, and he really wants to go to Lake Ouachita. And I'm just like, man, I don't want to go to Lake Ouachita. I mean, that's a long ways away, and I've watched. I know they fished the Forest Wood Cup there in the big, the FLW tour several times, and those guys are winning. Bags are like 12 pounds, so they're catching like 2.5 pounders, which that's not bad. I mean, that's a decent bag, but that's a long ways to drive to fish for some small fish.
Yeah, I've never been there before either. Driven through western Arkansas, but from what my friends tell me, it's a bucket list destination. I do want to go there at least once.
It is a very interesting looking lake. I mean, if you look at it, it has so many creek arms and little channels and coves, and it's pretty amazing looking. There's so many good lakes down there. I mean, I fished from the bank a couple lakes down there, Lake Dardanelle, and I actually caught one fish in Arkansas. It was like a 10-inch bass on Lake Bull Shoals from the bank. So I wasn't there to fish. I was there to do some other stuff, and I just happened to be able to fish for a couple hours. Let's see, a couple other things here. Scuff Thumb says, thanks for doing this. No problem, man. We're all about, of course, you guys know Jeremy is, but I'm all about kayak fishing and getting as many folks into these organizations as possible because, I just think that it's I can't believe I waited till I was 35 years old to buy a kayak. I mean, it's really not that expensive. You can fish some of these tournaments for a reasonable price. And like Jeremy said, you can go out and finish in a $200 kayak that you buy from Menards, and it'll get you on the fish just as good. I mean, the fish doesn't care what your boat is. So it's just really awesome to get out there. So a couple other things. Mark Schweiderman said the Midwest has not had a lot of rain. Yeah, we're really a lot of drought. Steve Basinger, we were just talking about you, Steve. He said just made it on here.
Yep.
What did I miss? Should we start from the top? No, we're not gonna do that. You're gonna have to watch it. You're gonna have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
Steve.
I've never met Steve, but I think 2 years ago I saw his video on Okoboji,
Yeah.
and I had an upcoming tournament on Okoboji. So I messaged him, and he actually gave me some pretty solid advice, and I placed fifth, I think, in 2018 on Okoboji, partially because of what Steve told me to do.
Yeah, Steve is he's a hammer, man, and he actually last year he fished on Boji, and he won. I think he had like a 23 or 24 pound bag. I mean, he was jacking some giants off of the docks and stuff. It was impressive. So yeah, Steve, you're gonna have to start. But he says, Okaboji, boy, do I have some tips for you. Well, don't tell him to anybody but me, Steve.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Okoboji is kind of my home lake. I should be a lot better at it, but I just honestly don't fish it that much. Let's see. Oh man, Bay Boy's making fun of my age. I think Jeremy and I are about the same age, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty old too.
Let's see. Yeah. What are you about? 37?
37. Yeah.
All right. So, guys, we've been going for about an hour here. I want to talk about a couple more things here, and then we'll wrap it up. So the last two series I want to talk about is the Hobie BOS Bass Open Series. They've been around for a long time. That's one of the bigger tournament trails for kayak fishing, and they are coming close again. And it's the Mississippi River, and it's going to be out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. So it's on pools. Well, I don't know what pools it's on, but La Crosse is right there on pool 7, and then
it's 7,
8,
9.
9. So that's the same thing we fished last year in the BASS. Tournament, so that is bordering Iowa. Pool 9 is, and even if you don't fish Pool 9, I mean it's not far to get up into Wisconsin and into Minnesota there to fish those. That's pretty cool. The Hobie BOS, they're always 2-day tournaments, so they're a little bit more expensive to get into. I think they're like maybe $400, $450 to enter those tournaments. They're a little bit spendier.
I think they're like 250, 235, something like that. Same as Bass.
I think they're higher than Bass. I'm pretty sure they're.
I did the Hobie last year.
Really?
I did the Hobie on the river last year. I know I didn't spend more than $250.
Maybe I'm wrong. I thought they were a little bit more expensive.
I think they're the same price as Bass.
And then that Bass, I mean, that's the last one we're going to talk about here. The BASS Kayak Series is coming back to the Mississippi this year.
Yeah.
So do you know when that is? I actually don't have their schedule.
Yeah, I think Bass River is September 25th, if I remember correctly.
September 25th. So that will be, I'm trying to think when we fished it. It was August, wasn't it? When we fished it for the Bass Nation Kayak Series last year. So that'll be interesting. A little bit different time frame, a little later in the summer there. But yeah, I mean that's pretty exciting. I'd love to try and fish some of those river tournaments again, and hopefully I'll be able to make that happen. And that Bass, the BASS tournament, I mean it was really run well. I thought. I mean it was done well. And
AJ does a great job.
It was cool. And they had a little grab bag for us and stuff, and they treated the anglers well. They definitely did a good job to recognize the guys that won. I mean, it was so surreal to me, being someone that grew up my whole life watching the Bassmasters, reading Bassmaster magazine. In fact, I have one right here. I got the latest issue of Bassmaster magazine, which you can't see because it's hiding. But it was just so cool to enter a tournament that was a BASS tournament. It was surreal to me. I mean, it was pretty cool. It meant a lot to me.
Yeah, and they're going to be back on. I know it's not an Iowa event, but they're going back to Fork again this year. It's in like 9 weeks. I'm counting down the days. I'm pumped. I'm ready for.
Let's talk about Lake Fork a little bit there, Jeremy.
I love Lake Fork.
Why do you love Lake Fork?
Because it's got big fish. It's such a cool area. Like the entire area is dedicated to bass fishing. Everywhere you stop, it's all about bass fishing.
It really is. So, If you guys don't know, Jeremy fished last year in the BASS Bass Nation Kayak Series at Lake Fork, and he finished 13th, which then qualified him for the tournament's going to get the Bass Nation Kayak Tournament. And I don't know all the details of that. I mean, is it run the same week as the Classic?
Supposedly, like 2 days before the Classic, it's like a Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh.
The Classic's on Friday,
And
Saturday,
is it
Sunday?
on the same body of water?
No, different body of water, but nearby.
Okay, so basically, Jeremy qualified for the Bassmaster Classic of kayak fishing, which is just unreal. That's just amazing. I mean, I don't even know what to say there. I mean, that's so awesome. And he did say that if he wins, then I get the first interview with him. So that's guaranteed. That's guaranteed. What was the biggest fish you caught down there on Fork?
Only like a 19.5, I think. Well, the first fish of the day was a 19.5.
Did you
wrap me around a tree, tried to break me off 3 times, and I should have missed it, but I was lucky enough to get it in the net. I remember that one quite vividly.
I bet. How many days did you practice? Were you able to practice?
Yeah, 2 full days. We drove through the night on a Wednesday night, and then fished all day Thursday, Friday. Tournament was Saturday.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be watching and rooting for you. Something else that's cool with kayak fishing, guys, if you don't know, is when these tournaments are on Tourney X, there's a live leaderboard, and so when I was out in the river, my dad was watching it like a hawk, he wanted to see how I was doing. Unfortunately, I didn't give him much to watch, but that's something that's really cool. From the smallest little tournament to the biggest tournament, if it's on Tourney X, there's a live leaderboard. And, that's the difference between fishing in a bass boat. We're not putting those fish in a live well and weighing them in at the end of the day. We're measuring them on that bump board, and we're uploading that picture real time. So, yeah, it's pretty cool to watch those leaderboards. I definitely have tracked Jeremy a couple times in some tournaments that he was able to fish and I wasn't, and it's cool to do. It's cool to watch. Let's address a few more comments here, and then I think we're gonna hit the road, guys. It's a little bit late here, and we definitely appreciate you guys stopping by and saying hi to us. Let's see. Traveling Fisherman showed up. Hey guys, he says he's down in Florida. Lucky. Amos Klein Waltering, thanks for a great show. No problem. Let's see here. Steve's got a comment, probably telling us something goofy. Oh, well, thank you. It's nice to have somebody who thinks I know what I'm doing. Oh, yeah, I said he was a hammer. Did I say that? I thought I said he was like a bluegill fisherman or something. I don't remember. LT says the BASS is going to be down here this year, and I'll be fishing it. So he's down in Texas area. I mean, Texas, big area. I think he's near Dallas. I'm not sure. Yeah. Let's see. Tim Gurley, he confirmed what you said. It is $250 for both the BASS and the Hobie series. Rick Valdez says, I want to hit Lake Fork. So, yeah, get down there, man. I have never fished in Texas. I definitely want to get down there, too. Edward Reet, he says, hello, guys. Hope to find you both well from Indiana. Thanks for stopping by, Edward. Traveling Fisherman, you should definitely get a kayak, man. You're just down in Florida. You got to watch out for those gators. All right. Oh, Steve says don't knock the bluegill fisherman. All right, guys. Well, I just want to say thanks a bunch for stopping by. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on here with me. I know that there's just a ton of opportunities for kayak anglers in Iowa. Probably the best year for it we've ever seen. Just there's so many things that a guy can do if you're willing to drive around a little bit and jump in some of these tournaments.
Yeah, there's something for everybody, whether you want to do onlines or state tournaments, or if you're willing to travel, 400 or 500 miles. There's plenty of options, I think, is the key word in Iowa for 2021.
Right. So, hey, guys, if you guys want to shoot me any questions or anything about anything you heard today, I will do my best to get an answer for you. If you go to the description on my YouTube channel, you'll find my email address, and you can send me an email, and I'll get back to you. And if I don't have an answer, I'll reach out to guys like Jeremy and some of these other folks in the state that really know the kayak scene, and I will get you an answer. So I hope that more people will jump out and get in these kayak tournaments because they're just tons of fun.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, thanks, Jeremy, and hopefully we'll see you on here after you win at Lake Fork.
I'm going to try. Thanks for having me.
See ya.
Yep. See you, Chris.
All right, we're still on, but the stream is turned off. Hey, man, I really appreciate it, dude.
You bet. How do you think that went?
I think it went well. Let's see what we got here for statistics.
I think we had like 26 people watching at one time.
Yeah, I think we had